Commander Zethkari's primary eyes dilated as the scanner readings flooded his consciousness through the neural link. The massive human vessel hung motionless in the void before them, its dark hull absorbing light like a hungry shadow. For 3 cycles, the Dominion fleet had maintained a cautious distance from the lone warship that had appeared at the edge of their territory without warning or greeting. "Impossible," whispered Science Adept Veltar, her tentacles trembling as she processed the data streams. "The readings. They cannot be accurate." Zethkari's mandibles clicked in agitation. As a veteran commander of 17 campaigns across the galaxy, he had encountered dozens of species and their various technologies. The humans were relative newcomers to the galactic stage, primitive mammals who had barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Their ships were crude, their weapons unsophisticated, their tactics predictable. Or so the intelligence reports claimed. "Run the scans again," he ordered, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 3 star systems for the Dominion. "Deep penetration analysis. I want to know everything about that vessel." The scanning array hummed with increased power, sending invisible tendrils of energy across space to probe the human warship. The results that returned made Zethkari's secondary heart skip their rhythm. The ship's outer hull appeared to be standard durasteel plating, but the scans revealed something far more sinister. Embedded within the metal were millions of microscopic structures, each one a perfectly engineered killing machine. The humans had somehow convinced their metal to become alive, creating a hull that could adapt, repair itself, and learn from damage. It was technology the Dominion's greatest scientists had only theorized about in their most ambitious dreams. "Commander," Veltar's voice carried a tremor of fear. "The weapon systems, they're not what they appear to be." The external scanner had identified what looked like conventional plasma cannons and missile tubes, but deeper analysis revealed the horrifying truth. Each weapon wasn't just a tool of destruction, it was an artificial intelligence in its own right, capable of learning, adapting, and evolving its tactics in real time. The missiles weren't simple explosives, but thinking entities that could rewrite their own programming mid-flight to counter any defense. Zethkari's third eye focused on the power core readings, and his blood turned to ice. The humans hadn't simply built a fusion reactor, they had somehow contained a miniature star within their vessel. The energy output was staggering, enough to power an entire Dominion battle fleet. But what terrified him most was the control system. There were no safety protocols, no fail-safes, no emergency shutdowns. The humans had built a bomb that could crack planets, and they flew around in it as casually as a pleasure craft. "Sir," Navigation Officer Kexalon's voice cracked with disbelief. The crew complement readings. The bioscanners had initially registered approximately 300 life forms aboard the human vessel, a reasonable crew size for a ship of that class. But continued observation revealed something that defied all military doctrine. The humans weren't just operating the ship, they were living as if they might die at any moment and celebrating that fact. The scans showed crew members engaged in activities that would have been court-martial offenses in any civilized fleet. They were telling jokes while maintaining weapons of mass destruction. They were playing games of chance in rooms adjacent to antimatter storage. Some were actually sleeping, voluntarily entering a state of unconsciousness while surrounded by enough destructive power to sterilize solar systems. But most disturbing of all were the combat recordings the scanning AI had intercepted from the ship's databanks. The humans didn't just fight wars, they studied them, analyzed them, turned them into entertainment. Their military history was a catalog of impossible victories against overwhelming odds, achieved through tactics that ranged from brilliant to completely insane. "Commander," Veltar whispered, "they have nuclear weapons in their recreation area." Zethkari stared at the tactical display. The humans had indeed stored thermonuclear devices in what appeared to be their equivalent of a games room, as if weapons capable of destroying cities were simply sporting equipment. The safety protocols around these devices consisted entirely of a small sign that translated roughly to, "Please don't touch." The final scan results arrived, and with them came the realization that changed everything. The human warship wasn't a military vessel in any conventional sense. It was a mobile apocalypse piloted by a species that had somehow survived their own suicidal tendencies long enough to reach the stars. They had looked at the vast, dangerous universe and decided that the best way to explore it was to build ships that could end civilizations and staffed them with individuals who thought juggling antimatter was an acceptable form of stress relief. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." On the main display, a human face appeared, smooth-skinned, with tiny eyes that somehow managed to convey both friendly curiosity and the casual confidence of someone who kept doomsday weapons as pets. The creature smiled, revealing small, flat teeth that would have been useless in any proper fight. "Greetings," the human said in perfectly translated Dominion Standard. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Retribution. We've noticed your scans and we wanted to invite you aboard for dinner. We're having something called barbecue tonight. It involves controlled explosions and consuming charred organic matter. We think you'd find it educational." Zethkari looked at his crew, saw the terror in their eyes, and made the only rational decision available to a sane military commander when faced with weaponized madness. "Navigation, set course for the Rim territories. Maximum speed." As the Dominion fleet fled, Captain Chen shrugged and returned to her paperwork. Another day, another species that couldn't handle a simple dinner invitation. Behind her, Engineering Chief Martinez continued his casual maintenance of their star in a box, whistling an ancient human tune about setting the world on fire.